I remember that rainy afternoon like it was yesterday. I was in my son's room, just tidying up after him as I always do. He's only 10, and kids that age leave their toys everywhere, socks balled up in corners, and homework scattered like autumn leaves. But that day, something felt off. The house was too quiet, and my heart was pounding for no reason I could name. I lifted his pillow to fluff it up, and there it was, a crumpled envelope, tucked away like a secret he didn't want anyone to find. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. It was addressed to Mom, in his messy handwriting, the kind that still has those big, wobbly letters from practicing cursive. I shouldn't have opened it. God, I wish I hadn't. But I did. And what I read inside, it shattered me. It was a letter saying goodbye, like he was planning to leave forever. Mom, I'm sorry I can't stay. I love you, but I have to go find my real family. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto his bed, tears blurring the words. What did he mean by real family? Had I failed him that badly? Or was there something darker hiding in our home that I never saw coming? Let me back up a bit, because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. My name's Emily, and I've been a single mom to Jake since the day he was born. Well, not born to me exactly, but that's a story for later. His dad left when Jake was just a baby, said he wasn't ready for the responsibility, packed his bags one night while I was rocking Jake to sleep, and vanished like smoke. I didn't chase him. What was the point? I had this tiny bundle in my arms, with his big blue eyes staring up at me, and I swore I'd give him everything. We live in this cozy little house on the edge of a small town, the kind where everyone knows your business, but pretends they don't. I work as a nurse at the local hospital, pulling double shifts sometimes to make ends meet, but Jake's always been my light. He's got this infectious laugh, the kind that bubbles up from his belly and makes the whole room brighter. But lately, things had changed. It started a few months ago, subtle at first. Jake would come home from school with his head down, not wanting to talk about his day. I'd ask, "How was recess, buddy?" and he'd mumble something about playing alone. I thought it was just a phase, kids being kids, maybe a little bullying or something. I'd pack his lunch with extra cookies, hug him tighter at bedtime, read him his favorite stories about adventurers and dragons. But then the nightmares began. He'd wake up screaming in the middle of the night, sweat-soaked and trembling. "Mom, they're coming for me," he'd whisper, clutching his blanket like a shield. "Who?" I'd ask, stroking his hair. But he'd just shake his head and burrow into my side, refusing to say more. I chalked it up to too much TV or those scary books he sneaked from the library. Oh, how wrong I was. The day I found the letter, I sat there on his bed for what felt like hours, rereading those words until they burned into my brain. I have to go find my real family. Real family? I was his family. I changed his diapers, kissed his scraped knees, cheered at his soccer games even when his team lost every time. What could possibly make him think otherwise? My mind raced back to the adoption papers I'd signed all those years ago. Jake wasn't biologically mine. I'd adopted him when he was 6 months old from an agency that handled tough cases. His birth parents were young, too young, and they'd given him up willingly. Or so I was told. I never hid it from him. We talked about it openly, like a beautiful story of how we found each other. But maybe he felt different now. Kids at school could be cruel. Had someone teased him about not looking like me? My dark hair and brown eyes against his blonde curls and those piercing blues. Or was it something else? I stuffed the letter in my pocket and decided not to confront him right away. I needed time to think, to figure out how to handle this without breaking us both. That evening, when he came home from school, I watched him closely. He slung his backpack on the kitchen chair, grabbed a juice box, and headed to his room without a word. "Hey, kiddo," I called out, trying to sound casual. "Anything fun happen today?" He paused at the door, his little shoulders tensing. "Nah, just boring stuff." His voice was flat, not like him at all. I wanted to pull him into a hug, demand answers, but instead, I smiled and said, "Okay, dinner's in an hour. Lasagna, your favorite." He nodded and disappeared, the door clicking shut behind him. That night, after he went to bed, I couldn't sleep. I paced the living room, the letter burning a hole in my drawer where I'd hidden it. What if he was planning to run away? Kids did that sometimes, right? Packed a bag with snacks and toys, thinking they could make it on their own. But Jake was smart. He'd figure out a way. I imagined him out there in the dark, alone and scared, and my chest tightened like a vice. I had to do something. The next morning, I called in sick to work, first time in years, and decided to dig deeper. While he was at school, I went through his room. I felt guilty, like I was betraying his trust, but a mom's gotta protect her kid. Under his bed, I found a shoebox stuffed with drawings. Not the usual kid stuff, stick figures and rainbows. These were dark, shadowy figures lurking in corners, a little boy running through a forest, and one that chilled me to the bone, a house on fire, with screams scribbled in red crayon. What the hell was going on in his head? I sat on the floor, surrounded by those papers, tears streaming down my face. That's when I noticed a small notebook tucked in the box. It was like a journal, pages filled with his scrawled thoughts. Entries about feeling different, about dreams where they called to him. Who were they? I flipped through, my heart racing. One page said, "I saw the man again today. He was watching from the playground fence. He knows." Knows what? My blood ran cold. Was someone stalking my son? I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? My kids having bad dreams and drawing scary pictures? They'd laugh me off. No, I needed more. Over the next few days, I became hypervigilant. I picked Jake up from school myself instead of letting him take the bus. I'd scan the crowds of parents, looking for anyone suspicious. There was this one guy, tall, with a beard and sunglasses, who seemed to linger a bit too long near the gates. Was it him? Or was I paranoid? At home, I'd try to coax information out of Jake without scaring him. "Hey, buddy, you ever feel like someone's watching you?" I'd ask over ice cream. He'd freeze, spoon midway to his mouth, then shake his head too quickly. "No, Mom." "Why?" His eyes darted away, and I knew he was lying. God, it hurt seeing him like that, carrying some burden all alone. One evening, things escalated. We were watching a movie, some animated thing about lost kids finding their way home, and Jake suddenly burst into tears. Not little sniffles, but gut-wrenching sobs. I paused the TV and pulled him close. "What's wrong, sweetie? You can tell me anything." He buried his face in my shirt, mumbling something I couldn't catch. I lifted his chin gently. "Jake, please." "I'm here." His blue eyes, red-rimmed, met mine. "Mom, what if I'm not supposed to be here? What if they want me back?" They again. My stomach dropped. "Who, honey? Who wants you back?" He hesitated, then whispered, "My real parents. The ones from the fire." The fire? What fire? I'd never heard anything about a fire in his adoption file. It was all straightforward. Teenage parents couldn't cope, signed away rights. But now doubt crept in. Had the agency lied? Or hidden something? That night, after tucking him in, I dug out the old adoption papers from the safe in my closet. Yellowed edges, official stamps. I read through them again, searching for clues. Nothing about a fire. But there was a name, the birth mother's, Sarah Ellis. And the father's, unknown. Maybe I could track her down. It was a long shot, but for Jake, I'd try anything. The next day, I started searching online. Facebook, old records, anything. Hours blurred into each other as I clicked through profiles. There were dozens of Sarah Elisas, but one caught my eye, a woman in her late 20s, living 2 states away, with photos of a cozy home and a dog. No kids, though. I messaged her, heart in my throat. "Hi, this might sound strange, but did you give up a baby for adoption 10 years ago?" I hit send and waited, pacing. Hours later, a reply. "Who is this? How did you find me?" We chatted back and forth, cautiously. Yes, she was the one. But when I mentioned Jake's letter and the fire, she went silent. Then, "I can't talk about this. Please don't contact me again." Click, blocked. What the hell? That only fueled my suspicion. Why block me if there was nothing to hide? I didn't stop there. I called the adoption agency, demanding answers. The lady on the phone was polite but firm. "Ma'am, all records are confidential. If there's an issue, you'll need to go through legal channels." Legal channels? I wasn't about to lawyer up yet. Instead, I turned to Jake's school. I met with his teacher, Mrs. Harper, a kind woman with glasses perched on her nose. Has Jake mentioned anything unusual? About a fire or strangers? She frowned, thinking. Well, he's been quieter lately. And last week, he drew a picture in art class, a burning house. Said it was from a dream. My pulse quickened. Did he say anything else? She shook her head. Just that it scared him. Poor kid. As days turned to weeks, the suspense built like a storm cloud. Jake's behavior worsened. He'd stare out windows for hours, jump at every noise. I'd catch him whispering to himself, like he was talking to someone invisible. One night, I overheard him in his room. I know you're there. But I don't want to go. Go where? I burst in, but he was alone, wide-eyed. Who are you talking to? I demanded, voice shaking. He clammed up, pulling the covers over his head. I slept on his floor that night, guarding him like a sentinel. Then came the breaking point. I was in the kitchen making dinner when the phone rang, an unknown number. I answered, and a man's voice, deep and gravelly, said, "Is this Emily? Jake's mom?" My hand tightened on the receiver. Who is this? Silence then. You need to know the truth. Meet me at the old park bench by the lake tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Click. My world spun. Was this the bearded man from school? A trap? But what choice did I have? For Jake, I'd walk into fire. The next day, I told Jake I had errands and dropped him at a friend's. The park was empty, wind rustling leaves. I sat on the bench, nerves frayed. Minutes ticked by. Then, a figure approached, tall, bearded, sunglasses. He sat down, not looking at me. You don't know me, but I know Jake. I'm his uncle. Uncle? The adoption papers said no family. What do you want? I whispered. He sighed. Sarah didn't tell you everything. There was a fire, our family home. Jake's parents died in it. He was the only survivor. Died? But the papers said they gave him up. Lies, all lies. He continued, voice low. Sarah was his sister, not his mother. She was 17, couldn't raise him. The agency covered it up to make adoption easier. But Jake, he remembers fragments. Nightmares. And now he's starting to piece it together. My mind reeled. So that's why the drawings, the fears. But why now? Because the man said, I've been watching him. I want him back. He's the last of our blood. Back? Over my dead body. He's my son, I hissed. He stood. Think about it. He deserves to know his roots. Then he walked away, leaving me shattered. I drove home in a daze, tears blinding me. How could I tell Jake? Or should I? That night, I held him close, whispering I loved him. But the letter under his pillow, it made sense now. He felt pulled by ghosts. Suspense hung heavy. What would I do next? The days after that park meeting blurred into a nightmare of my own. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at Jake, I saw those blue eyes not as mine, but as echoes of a family lost to flames. His uncle, if that's what he really was, had dropped a bomb, and now I was scrambling through the debris. I didn't tell anyone, not even my best friend Lisa, who kept calling to check on me. You sound exhausted. Everything okay with Jake? I'd force a laugh. Just work stuff. You know how it is. But inside, I was screaming. How do you protect your child from a past that might swallow him whole? I decided to verify the story. No way was I taking a stranger's word. I dove deeper online, searching for old news articles about fires in the area where Sarah lived. Hours of scrolling through archives, my eyes burning from the screen. Then, jackpot, an article from 10 years ago. Tragic house fire claims couple, baby rescued miraculously. The details matched, a faulty wire, flames engulfing a small home in the night. Parents perished trying to save their infant son. The sister, Sarah, 17, was away at a sleepover. She gave the baby up shortly after. My heart ached reading it. So it was true. Jake had survived hell as a baby, and somehow, those memories lingered like smoke in his mind. But why had the agency lied? I called them again, this time angrier. You covered up a tragedy? What if it affects him? The same polite voice, ma'am, we prioritize the child's future. Details like that can complicate placements. Complicate? It nearly destroyed us. I hung up furious. Meanwhile, Jake's conversations with no one escalated. I'd hear him in the backyard, whispering to the trees. I remember the heat. It hurt. I'd rush out, but he'd stop, pretending to play. One afternoon, I confronted him gently. "Jake, who's been talking to you about a fire?" He froze, toy truck in hand. "No one, Mom." But his lip quivered. "Is it the man from the playground?" His eyes widened. "How do you know about him?" Busted. He spilled a little. The man had approached him weeks ago, said he was a friend of the family, showed him old photos of a baby that looked like Jake. He said, "I have a real name, Ethan. And that you're not my mom." My world cracked. Ethan? The article mentioned an Ethan Miller. God, they'd even changed his name for the adoption. I pulled Jake into my lap, rocking him. "I am your mom, sweetie. Always." That man, he's wrong. But was he? Biologically, no, but in every way that mattered, yes. I banned Jake from going outside alone, installed extra locks. Paranoia set in. I'd check windows obsessively, jump at every car passing by. Then, the letters started arriving. Anonymous envelopes in the mail, no return address. The first, "He belongs with us. Let him go." My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside, a photo of a young couple smiling with a baby. The resemblance to Jake was uncanny. I burned it in the sink, watching the flames curl the edges, irony not lost on me. But more came. "We know where you live." He's remembering. Soon he'll choose. Terror gripped me. Was the uncle behind this? Or Sarah? I tried messaging her again from a fake account, but no luck. I even drove to her town one weekend, leaving Jake with Lisa under the guise of a work trip. Her address was easy to find, small town perks. I parked across the street from her house, a quaint cottage with flowers in the window. Hours passed. I felt like a stalker. Finally, she emerged, walking her dog. I approached, heart pounding. "Sarah? Please wait." She turned, face paling. "You? How? I need answers." "About Jake, Ethan." She glanced around, nervous. "Not here." Inside. Her living room was cozy, photos everywhere, but none of kids. She poured tea, hands trembling. "I didn't want this. After the fire. I couldn't keep him. Too much pain." Tears welled. "But your uncle, he's harassing us." She frowned. "Uncle? I don't have an uncle. My family died that night. All of them." "What? No uncle? Then who is the man?" Panic surged. "A bearded guy, says he's family." Sarah shook her head. "No one left. Unless." She trailed off, eyes distant. "There was a neighbor. Obsessed with my parents. Blamed himself for the fire. He'd fixed the wiring wrong. Went crazy after, institutionalized. But he got out years ago." Oh God. Not family, a guilt-ridden madman thinking Jake was his redemption? I raced home, phone to ear, calling police. But they needed proof. The letters? Anonymous. The meeting? No evidence. Back home, Jake was fine, but the suspense was killing me. That night, a storm raged outside, thunder shaking the house. Jake screamed from his room, a nightmare. I rushed in, holding him. "The fire, Mom. It's coming." He sobbed. I whispered comforts, but inside, fear churned. Who is this man, really? And what did he want? The next morning, I found another letter on the doorstep. "Tonight. Or I take him." I called Lisa, begged her to take Jake for the day. Then I waited, heart like a drum. Dusk fell, rain pounding. A knock at the door. I grabbed a kitchen knife, peeked out. The bearded man. "Open up, Emily. We need to talk." I let him in, knife hidden. "Who are you really?" He removed his sunglasses, eyes haunted. "I'm the one who started the fire. Faulty job. I owe that boy a life." "Oh? You're not family." He nodded. "But in my mind, he is. I've watched him grow. He needs to know the truth to forgive me." "Forgive?" He was delusional. "Leave us alone," I said, voice steady. He lunged, grabbing my arm. "He's coming with me." We struggled. The knife clattered. Thunder boomed. Jake, oh no, he'd come back early, sneaking in the back door. Mom, he yelled. The man turned. Ethan, it's me. Your savior. Jake froze, recognition dawning from those photos. You, from the dreams. Chaos erupted. I tackled the man, screaming for Jake to run. Police sirens wailed. I'd called them earlier suspicious. They arrested him, a broken man muttering about atonement. Jake and I clung together as they took him away. But the damage was done. That night, I told Jake everything, the fire, his birth name, Sarah. He cried, but then hugged me. You're still my mom, right? Always, I whispered. Yet, peace was fleeting. Weeks later, Jake seemed better, but I noticed him writing again. Another letter under his pillow? I peeked one night. Dear Mom, thank you for saving me. I love you forever. Tears of relief. But wait, was that all? No. The twist came months later. Sarah contacted me. I lied. There is an uncle, me and Jake's real uncle. But he's not the bearded man. That was the neighbor. The uncle, he's been in hiding, ashamed. He wants to meet Jake, but only if you approve. Hiding? Why? Because, she said, he started the fire. Accidentally. Family secret. Wait, what? The uncle was real, but the man I met was the imposter? No, Sarah clarified. The bearded man was the neighbor, but the real uncle had been sending letters, trying to connect without scaring us. Confusion reigned. Who to trust? I met the real uncle, a kind man, scarred from the fire himself. I didn't die. I was away that night. Blamed myself for not being there. He had proof, documents, photos. The agency hit him too, at his request, to avoid trauma. But now he wanted to be part of Jake's life. Jake met him, cautious at first. Do I have to leave Mom? No, the uncle said. She's your family. Emotional reunion, tears all around. But the heartbreak? Realizing Jake's letter wasn't about running away, it was a cry for understanding his past. He'd overheard me on the phone years ago, pieced bits together. In the end, we blended families. Jake thrived, knowing his roots without losing me. But that letter, it broke my heart, then mended it stronger. Wait, but the twist that brought me to tears? One day, Jake handed me a new letter. Mom, I found out something. In the fire, you were the nurse who saved me as a baby. You held me first. What? I remembered a shift 10 years ago, pulling an infant from rubble. That baby was Jake? Fate brought us together before adoption. I adopted my own miracle. Tears flowed. We were always meant to be. Looking back, that revelation about the fire and my role in it hit me like a tidal wave. I sat there on the couch, Jake's new letter in my hands, rereading the words he'd scribbled after talking to his uncle. Mom, Uncle Tom told me you were there that night. You saved me from the smoke. That's why I feel so safe with you. My mind flashed back to that chaotic emergency room shift, a call about a house fire, rushing to the scene as part of the response team. I was young, just starting out, but I remember cradling that tiny baby, his cries weak amid the sirens. I soothed him, whispered, "You're safe now, little one." Little did I know, that baby would become my son. Fate, destiny, whatever you call it, it wrapped us together long before the adoption papers. Jake looked up at me with those blue eyes, now sparkling with wonder instead of fear. Is it true, Mom? Were you my hero even then? I nodded, choking back sobs, pulling him into the tightest hug. Yes, buddy. And you'd be mine forever. We cried together, a mix of joy and sorrow for the lost years, the hidden truths. His uncle, Tom, had filled in the gaps, how he'd survived the fire by being at a friend's, guilt eating him alive for not protecting his brother and sister-in-law. He distanced himself, let Sarah handle the adoption, but regretted it. The letters? His way of testing the waters, but the neighbor, the bearded man, had intercepted somehow, twisted it into his obsession. Police confirmed, the neighbor had been stalking the family for years, driven mad by remorse. With the threat gone, life slowly normalized, but deeper. We visited Sarah more, built bridges. Jake called her Aunt Sarah, shared stories. Tom became a fixture, weekend barbecues, helping with homework. But suspense lingered in small ways. Jake's occasional questions about his birth parents, what they were like. I'd show him photos Tom brought his dad with a goofy grin, Mom baking pies. They'd be proud of you, I'd say, voice thick. He'd nod, then run off to play, resilient as kids are. Yet, not all was perfect. I started having my own nightmares reliving the fire, but this time failing to save him. I'd wake gasping, rush to his room, watch him sleep. Motherhood's worry never ends. One day, Jake came home excited. Mom, school projects on family trees. Innocent, but it stirred old fears. What if digging unearthed more secrets? We worked on it together, branches for birth, family, and adopted. He drew me at the center, heart-shaped. You're the root, he said. Melted me. Months passed, seasons changed. Fall brought crisp air, leaves crunching underfoot. Jake turned 11, a big party with cake and games. Tom gifted him a locket with his birth parents' photo. Jake wore it proudly, but whispered to me, "Your picture's in my heart." Cue more tears. But then, a new letter appeared, not under his pillow, but on my nightstand. "Dear Mom, I have a secret. Don't be mad." My heart skipped. What now? I confronted him gently. "Buddy, what's this?" He shuffled feet. I've been talking to someone online. A kid who says he's my cousin." Cousin? Tom had mentioned distant relatives, but online? Danger bells. "Show me." It was a chat app, innocent at first, sharing games, but then, "My dad says you're family. From the fire." Who? We traced it, turned out a scam? No, real. Tom's estranged son, hidden from the story. More layers. Tom confessed, "I have a son from a previous marriage." He was jealous of the attention on Jake, started reaching out anonymously. Family drama unfolded, reunions, arguments, healing. Jake gained a cousin, playdates ensued. But the emotional toll? Seeing Jake navigate this web, questioning belonging. One stormy night, echoes of the past, Jake had another nightmare. "The fire's back," he screamed. I held him, but this time he said, "Mom, I remember you saving me." Your voice. Bonds deepened. As winter approached, peace settled. But the ultimate twist lurked. During a family gathering, Sarah pulled me aside. "Emily, there's something else. About the adoption." My stomach nodded. "What?" "You weren't just the nurse. The agency chose you because I requested it. I saw you that night, holding him. Knew you'd love him right. Requested? Why not tell me?" Guilt. But now, thank you. Tears again. The story circled back, my heartbreak from the first letter led to this fuller family. Jake thrived, letters now of love, not goodbye. But wait, the tearjerker end? Years later, Jake, grown, handed me a book he'd written. My Real Family, a story of fire and love. Dedication to Mom, who saved me twice from flames and loneliness. I bawled, proud, moved. Our bond unbreakable. Reflecting on that book Jake wrote, it became a bestseller in our small circle, family, friends, even published locally. He poured his heart into it, detailing the nightmares, the letters, the revelations. But more, it was a tribute to resilience, to chosen family. At the launch party, he stood tall, 18 now, reading excerpts. In the ashes, I found my true home. Applause thundered, but my eyes locked on his, swelling with pride. That boy who'd hidden a goodbye letter now celebrated staying. Life moved forward. I remarried a kind man named David, who adored Jake like his own. Tom and Sarah became regulars at holidays, the cousin a best friend. No more secrets, or so I thought. But life loves curves. One day, Jake called from college. "Mom, I found something in old files Uncle Tom gave me." My breath caught. What? A letter. From my birth mom. Written before the fire. He read it over the phone, wishes for his future, love eternal. She mentioned a nurse who inspired her from a checkup. Said if anything happened, find her. Coincidences layered upon fate. Emotional waves crashed. We visited the old house site, now a park. Jake scattered flowers, whispered thanks. "I feel complete," he said. Tears mingled with smiles. But the deepest twist, the one that still brings me to tears? On my 50th birthday, Jake surprised me with adoption papers of his own child. Mom, meet your grandson. And guess what? We're naming him after my birth dad, but he's ours. Cycle of love continued. Holding that baby, echoes of the past, I wept for the journey from a heartbreaking letter to this joy. Our story, full of suspense, heartbreaks, twists, proved love conquers all. Scars remain, but they make us stronger. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and comment.